Today marks 1 year since I restarted this game from scratch, and I wanted to show a little recap of everything I managed to do, along with some cool new stuff that I haven't shown yet, like my new map generation, redoing all the menu art, and some fantastic music from my composer. Now for those who are new to the channel, I'm making a multiplayer game where you play as goblins with your friends and try to fight off the invading humans. You can have little creatures as livestock that give you resources, you can plant stuff, you can walk around with NPCs and make friends with them, and you can explore and go mining in tons of different biomes to get your little goblin hands on items and loot to upgrade more. There will be plenty of bosses, little human bases scattered around, and dungeons to explore. There are also these pollution sources scattered around, and if you try to destroy them, you initiate a swarm where humans will be alerted and you have to defeat them all to destroy the pollution source and save your island. Overall, I like to think of this game as sort of a blend between Stardew Valley and Terraria if I had to put labels on it. Now this isn't a complete list of stuff. There are tons of smaller features that I've added that aren't really worth mentioning. Things like containers you can open, fishing, the weather system, fusing items together, stuff like that. I'll show a list here if you want to take a look, but you can also go back and watch the older videos if you want more detail. But I want to get on to new fun stuff, starting with map generation for the game. So my old way of generating maps used a very slow algorithm called wave function collapse that kinda didn't look too good. When everything was done, it had all these jagged edges between biomes, and it also took way too long to generate. So I took a step back and ended up using a faster and better looking way to do it. Let's walk through how a map gets generated now. So since you're a huge nerd and clicked on this game development video, you may already be familiar with things like Perlin noise or simplex noise. Basically, it's noise that looks like this. Not as random as, say, white noise. Pretty much any game that generates maps will use this in some way. If we call the white spots high and the dark spots low, it kind of looks like this. You can add lots of layers to make it more bumpy or flat or whatever you want. So I know I want to use this, and I know I want my islands to be roughly circular. What we can do is we take this noise and we make it get darker around the edges like this. We can then say that all the black spots are water and all the grays and whites are land. After some tweaking, we have a rough island shape. It's okay, but if we zoom in, there are lots of little spotty islands and random bits of ocean on the island. They don't even look like nice lakes, they just look kinda noisy, so we can sweep through and get rid of them, resulting in a shape like this. Now that we have a nice island shape, we need to decide where each biome will go. Here I had to place the desert, volcano, and jungle biomes in red, and all the gray stuff will be forest. You'll see that some of these future biome spots kinda look like they have bites taken out of them. Since the player starts here in the center of the island, I wanted to make some biomes be encountered first and some be encountered later. If the volcano, for example, is more treacherous, it makes sense that it would be further away. The generator also places each biome randomly. Right now they're equidistant from each other, but that's adjustable. You'll also notice I smooth out the edges so we don't have any abrupt borders between biomes. So anyways, now that we know which tiles are which biomes, we can place rocks and trees and get something like this. All the little brown spots are trees, the light green is grass, you get the idea. At each biome we simply use noise to determine what goes where. All of the placement and noise stuff is adjustable with these little graphs. It's kinda complicated so I won't go into it too much, but the idea is that I can adjust things without touching much code. So next up we go around the edges of the island and add beaches like so. I also messed with the noise a bit and ended up liking the maps like this, where they have little flat areas here and there where it's just sand and grass, and then really rocky areas scattered around, with lots of rock walls. This chunk of brown here is just a bunch of rocks. We can put ore and caves in there later on too if we want. Ultimately, the more variety the better, because it's very easy for noise to get monotonous and boring. Next up, we can add lakes and rivers. We place these by scanning for all the low points on the map, which are all the dark spots in the noise. You can see them designated with little green dots here. We then fill up lakes in a few of them by placing a bunch of water tiles. Then each lake has a chance of spouting a river, which runs off in random directions using something called Perlin worms. The results are kinda nonsensical, but I don't think the map has to make a ton of sense. Like, it's kinda okay if our rivers just go off into nowhere. You'll also notice some little lava rivers in the volcano area. I think those are fun. Now right now, all we have is a boring empty world with cool biomes, but nothing interesting in them. We need to place some enemy camps in the player's starter town. But how do we do that? Well, I can pre-make some camps by hand like this in my editor and then have it place them, like so. You can see all the little camps scattered around in the map. To keep the game from placing camps on top of each other, I have it mark off which 10 by 10 chunk has already been placed on, as you can see in red here. These are marked as untouchable for the rest of generation. This way no other camps, lakes, or whatever can get spawned on top of them and destroy the existing stuff. I also placed the player's starter town. As you can see, it was just ravaged by humans and the poor goblins are distraught. And that kind of concludes the overworld for now. I just gotta come up with more stuff to add. I want to add more biomes, a cool volcano in the volcano region that the player can go inside of, maybe some dungeons, some little groves of plants, maybe a shipwreck, and just lots more cool stuff. I then went ahead and did the same thing underground. The process was very similar. We just placed some bedrock around the edges and add little caves everywhere with noise. We can then mix in some ores in the dirt and add rivers. It's kind of hard to tell what's going on, but here the yellow is all gold ore, the gray is all stone, and so on. We can then add plants and stuff that you can see as we walk around. There's only one underground biome right now, so it's all very monotonous, but I want to have an underground volcano, underground desert, underground jungle, and so on, along with maybe some like crystal biomes and whatever, stuff like that. I also plan on having deeper floors as well that are more dark and intense and challenging. Now before calling it a day for underground, I added in little bases for the enemies, along with a huge enemy dungeon down here. The dungeon was pretty easy to make. I can pre-make rooms like this in my dungeon editor, and then have it link them together randomly with hallways. It's pretty fun to walk around and feel it come to life. I even added some little traps here and there. I can designate how many times a room should show up, if it's an entrance, if it should have side rooms, and so on, so there's lots of control. And that's kind of where I'm at for world generation. I'm now nicely set up to add more content, and that's kind of my next big step. I really just need to flesh out item progression and fill the game with biomes, bosses, and enemies. I'll hopefully have a demo ready for playtesting by February to May-ish at the latest, so make sure to hop in the Discord and add yourself to the playtesting world to get notified if you want to try it. Or head on over to Steam and search Isle Goblin to Wishlist and get notified when it does release. So anyways, now that the maps are generated, I noticed a huge problem. Previously, my maps were very tiny, but with these bigger maps, it takes about 60 seconds to load the map when you open the game. If the maps get even bigger than this, it gets worse. This is pretty unacceptable. Without making things get boring or too technical, I want to dive into some of the detail here, so bear with me. I'll try to keep this interesting. So first and foremost, unlike Minecraft, I do not generate the maps as the player walks around. I make the entire map when the player starts the world, like Terraria does. I like this more since it lets me place stuff willy-nilly and do multiple passes and have huge structures like you just saw. But this means I have to save all the map tiles individually instead of just saving the seed that was used for the noise, resulting in huge save files that take forever to load. So here's how I improved it. Previously, I would take all the map data, which is nice organized indications of what's at each spot, and make it a bit more save-friendly and compressed into a bunch of numbers using run length encoding. And then I would save it all to a file. Then when it came time to play the game, we'd load it all in about 1 to 8 seconds, depending on the size of the map, and then decompress it, which took about 20 to 160 seconds. As you can see, the loading from memory is pretty tolerable, but the decompressing takes way too long. So I instead made it so each chunk of the map gets decompressed as you walk around. I have a chunk of code called Map Manager, where any code can ask it, hey, what tile is at this spot? If the Map Manager ever gets asked about a chunk that hasn't been decompressed, it'll quickly do it and then answer the question. This results in lightning fast load times no matter how gigantic the map is, and it's super nice to see. But now we have one more problem: multiplayer. When the client joins the game, it used to send the whole map over, but with our bigger maps, it takes way too long. So now I've made it so the clients can ask for the maps one little piece at a time. It'll tell the host, hey, I need this 50 by 50 tile chunk, and the host will send it over. The client can then decompress it and use it. The problem with this is it takes about 2 seconds for that transaction to occur if your internet connection isn't great. So I had to make all the code be okay with not having a map immediately. Like anytime the client needs info about what's at a spot from the map manager code, sometimes the answer would be, I don't know yet, try again later, and the code had to be able to deal with that. So I made those changes and it seems to work just fine now. It's exciting to see it work pretty seamlessly. Hopefully the player who's hosting doesn't get too much lag from constantly sending chunk data out, but we'll see how it looks in playtesting. Okay, that's enough about saving and maps. I want to show you guys some of the new music. So I bumped into Ricardo earlier this year on TikTok and commissioned a quick piece. I really liked it, so we signed a contract and now he's my dedicated composer for the game. I get a discount on his prices, and in return he gets a bit of revenue share for the project. Here's some of the stuff he's made. First off, a little taste of the forest theme. Then I really like the desert theme as well. This one's a bit more lively. Now I don't want to show all the themes, so we'll do one more for now. Here's the volcano theme. So that's a good chunk of the new music. Let me know what you think in the comments. I read every single comment, so feel free to say whatever's on your mind in general too. But back to the music. We also wanted to add some dynamic scaling for the music so it gets more intense as enemies surround you. You can see here in Fmod, which is our music implementation software, that as this enemy presence variable increases, more and more of these layers start to turn on. So I'm going to slowly increase this slider up at the top, and you'll see these volume knobs turn on one at a time. So just listen and imagine enemies are slowly ganging up on you. It needs some tweaking in game, but I think it's a nice little touch that adds a lot. And then on top of that, I also went through and added in a ton of sound effects. I'm not a sound effects expert by any means, but I gave it my best shot and I'll let you guys be the judges. I found this library on Reddit of royalty-free audio and I kinda just merged them and combined them and tweaked them to make sounds for the game. Luckily, my high-frequency electrical engineering knowledge comes in pretty handy when it comes to audio filters and modulation and whatnot, so it's not too alien to me. But anyways, here's what some gameplay sounds like as you go about various tasks. I'm just gonna play a bunch of clips with a bunch of random sounds, so let me know what you think. And listen closely for that enemy proximity audio. Also, I have a few clips with a bunch of enemies around. And that's it. Some of the sounds make me cringe a bit. I've got a list of sound effects to tweak later on, but for now I just gotta make progress, so they'll have to do. And then speaking of making progress, I realized I needed to add controller support or it's gonna be a lot of work later on. I tried to make them more interesting too. The old inventory UI looked like this, but now it's a fun little bag. And now the player's hotbar looks like a belt. I also made weapons and stuff work with a controller, where this little red reticle will pop up when aiming. Little yellow arrows will also appear on anything that's interactable. I also redid the main menu and had Ricardo do a main menu theme, which is based off the forest theme. Here's what it looks like now when you open the game. I'm not 100% satisfied with the main menu art, but it'll have to do for now. There are also other menus that had fun redesigns, but those you'll just have to wait and see. Now, as is tradition with these videos, it's time to show the current wishlist count on Steam. Wishlists are a pretty good indicator of how much a game will sell, and people say 10 to 20,000 is a good range to be in so that you get picked up by the Steam algorithm, but I'm aiming for 50,000, so we'll see if we can get there. I'm currently at about 19.7 thousand. I honestly never thought we'd get this high, and it's super exciting. A lot of them are old though, so I'm not sure how many of them are actually really still useful, but hopefully we can make it to 50,000 and I don't have to worry. As always, I of course appreciate all the support from all of you. I really hope I can manage to make something fun and engaging to play. Right now there isn't much of a gameplay loop, so hopefully that'll change by the next video. So if you want to stay posted, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell and do all the things. If you like or comment, the YouTube algorithm will also shine his blessings upon me, so make sure to do that too. And with that, thanks everyone for dropping by, and I will see you all next time. Hello everyone, the time has come to shout out our eternally gracious patrons. I'd like to give a super special shout out to our Goblin Deity patrons for December of 2023, namely Shendrak, Guardian, Jaspid, Snout, Enigma77, Sierra Kovac, Slime Shisho, Random8408, Megan Palmer, Joseph Scobby, Jackson Singleton, Brett Hudson, Krakenfall, Charfil, Sarah, Zach Fox, and Zachary Neese. You're all amazing and I appreciate all of the support.